So that won't be a problem.
That will never be a problem at all in the
no, it actually is
future
almost
of
always
the
a
world.
problem.
You're
Just
a problem.
not now.
And today we're going to be talking
Speaking
about
of problems,
another problem.
problems like
Yes.
like not worshiping God properly.
Yes.
That's a problem. So we are back looking at prayer thoughts. Why didn't you do that before we started?
I didn't have to do it then, just like getting a haircut.
Something about it's like pushing the button makes you have to yawn.
Every single time I push,
It's like it's so hard that you have to reach out, and it makes you so tired that then you have to yawn.
It's not just you, because when I film
you did
videos
the
on my own, I
push
push the button and then immediately had to yawn. It's every single time.
It's a Pavlov's dog kind of thing.
Yeah,
you push the record button and you yawn. It just goes
one of those things.
together.
Now I gotta do it again.
We didn't need to see your tonsils, dude. All right, so we are looking at another prayer topic, and in this case, what we're talking about is, I don't know that there's I couldn't really find a specific verse that really just flat out said this. So we kind of are looking at negative examples. If you want to talk about that way, a negative example where the Bible gives us examples of things not to do. So Corinthians talks about
somebody
that.
does this and then they die,
and so you're like, don't do that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're going to look at with this topic. So our topic is praying that our worship pleases God. And of course, just praying for that is not the only thing involved. Obviously, we need to be worshiping God in a way that He wants to be worshipped, and that will help that.
As we say very often, if you're going to pray for something, you have to put in your part to try and live it out and make it happen. You can't just be like, God, fix my life, and then continue to do nothing about it, because miracles no longer happen today.
Well, even in the time when there were miracles, God didn't just make somebody's life different than He didn't really do that to people. He let them make their own choices and live the way they wanted to live. So what we wanted to look at, and I guess there kind of is this idea, it's really more of a song. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing unto you, O Lord. It's kind of a song, kind of a prayer. But that's the idea, that as we are speaking, singing, teaching about God's Word, just everything that we're doing to worship Him, that our hearts are right, that the things that we say are right, that we're doing it right so that He will be pleased with it, so that it'll be what He wants it to be. And of course, we could go back to Cain and Abel, where Cain and Abel both offered sacrifices, but one of them had the heart right and the other one didn't.
When I was reading through the verse, goodness, it's bad.
You think you didn't get to sleep for 12 hours last night?
I didn't. I woke up at 10.
Oh, so 10 hours last night?
9.
All right.
Went to bed at 1.
Okay.
So when I was reading through the verses that Dad had picked out for this, my immediate thought was, why didn't you just do Cain and Abel? And then thinking about it some more, I'm like,
story.
Nadab and Abihu offering up bad fire in front of the Lord, and just worshiping in a way that they weren't supposed to, and got struck dead for that. Is that word struck? Struck dead?
They was smoked.
There was smoke, yes.
No, not smoke. Smoke. They was smiting going on in that story.
They was smitten.
They were smitten.
Like
and not kitten. With love.
Smitten
not like that
kitten.
Kind of, not like that. Yeah, and then there's, of course, King Saul, who thinks that not obeying God...
Obedience is better than sacrifice.
Yeah, that's what Samuel told him. That by not obeying God, because he was supposed to kill all the living things, but instead he saved some of the sheep and the cows to offer them as a sacrifice to God, and he thought somehow that was going to make God happy. when in fact, quite the opposite. That made God very angry. So the idea then, if God tells you to do something, it's better to do that than to offer him a sacrifice. Better to do what he said than to try to appease him with a sacrifice. And that's what Samuel, of course, told him. But what we want to look at, this is kind of an odd one, and it's more of an unusual one. So I like to not just hound the same thing. That's why I didn't do Cain and Abel and didn't do Nadab and Abihu, because it's like the same thing over and over. So we mention them. But what we really want to look at is 2 Samuel 15, 6 through 12.
I'm looking at it.
You're looking at it. And if
it's right there.
Maybe, at some point we need to learn editing skills good enough that we could actually
let them look
put
at
the
it. Here,
verse.
you look at it.
I don't think
it's right in there.
I don't think they can see that. It's a little
you can
small.
pause the video and
zoom in.
how do you zoom in on a video? How would that work? I don't think you can.
You can, if it's on your screen, you can do the Control Plus on a laptop. I don't know about phones and things. Fair. Well, on the iPad, you just end it, and I don't know.
You can do that on a video.
I don't know. I've never tried it. Anyway, so 2 Samuel 15. This is about Absalom. He was King David's son. Is there a reason you're hiding? No. Hiding his face. He's ashamed.
So people can't see me yawn more.
Is that it? So he is King David's son, and there's been a lot of problems between King David and Absalom. David had a lot of family problems.
He did. He had a lot of family.
He did have a lot of family, and he did have the problems. He had, one of his sons raped his half-sister, which happened to be Absalom's full sister, and Absalom was mad. Absalom killed his son, his
Moral
brother.
of the story, don't be king, don't have kids. Solves all your problems. One bird with two stones, something like that.
I don't think that would solve all your problems. I know single people, and they still have problems. Their problems are different.
They must be kings then.
No,
the
not.
only people in the world that have problems are
Kings
married
and parents.
people who are parents and leaders of countries.
What of people who aren't married but are parents? They have problems too.
Yeah. I mean,
what about
I
kids?
think it's just the parents.
What about kids? Kids have problems.
Kids don't actually have problems.
Your logic.
They just think they have problems. But the parents look at them and be like, "What's wrong with you? Nothing.
You're fine."
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, Absalom thought he had problems. And he thought the whole kingdom had problems. And he wasn't too happy with his dad either. So Absalom would have people come to him and say, he'd say, the king, he's too busy to listen to you, but I'll listen to you and I'll help you with your problems. That's the way that works. When you've got a lot of problems, you should always give everybody else advice about how to solve theirs.
Well, to be fair, when you've got a lot of problems, you got experience with problems.
I have dealt with 5 million problems, and I can deal with yours too.
Yep.
But that's kind of what Absalom did, and so he's like, hey, you come listen to me. And so the Bible says that he stole the hearts of the men of Israel. And then after 4 years of doing this, of getting everybody to love him, and he, he didn't just do it in a couple of days. 4 years. He's planning this out.
He was committed
to this. And so then he goes up to his dad, the king, after 4 years, and he says, I need to go pay my vow that I vowed to the Lord. So he's like, I need to go worship God in a special kind of, not just your typical all the time kind of worship. This is a special vow that I've made to God, and I need to go do it. And so he says, I vowed while I was living in this other place that if God would bring me back home, then I would offer this worship to the Lord. So the king said, hey, good. King's thinking, hey, things are better between me and my son, and this is great, and he wants to go worship God. Yeah, everything's getting better. That's always good, except it wasn't. He went to Hebron to supposedly go and worship. And verse 10 tells us that he sent secret messengers all over through all the tribes of Israel. And he said, as soon as you hear the trumpet, you say, Absalom is king in Hebron. So he's not really going to worship God.
Mm-mm.
quite the opposite. He's going to
Fakery.
he's going to use the appearance of worship for his own devious means, and in this case, more than just devious, treasonous. He is overthrowing his father as the king.
I'm tired of the lies, the deceit, the confections.
Confections?
Don't you sass me.
All right. Nothing like a good movie quote that almost no one will
understands.
Get.
Yep.
If you haven't seen the movie Flywheel, you should watch it.
Uh-huh.
It's a great movie. Good faith-based movie. Anyway, so he does that. He gets 200 men, and some of them had no idea what was going on. But they get up there, and while he's offering the sacrifices, they do this trumpet sound, and all of a sudden there's this conspiracy. Woo. And the conspiracy got so strong, and the people with Absalom kept growing, and finally David has to flee for his life, and it winds up being a civil war over who's the king, and it was worse than Avengers Civil War. Don't you think?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I mean,
what you doing back here?
Captain America and Iron Man
complaining to
King
God.
David and his son Absalom.
Well, while you're back here yapping, he's out there working.
Okay, I'm not sure what that has to do with this, but okay.
I don't know.
Another movie quote from Flywheel.
Yeah.
So
I like
anyway,
that one. That's a good, like, comical explanation of what prayer is.
Of what we're complaining about
I'm
everything.
back here
it's like,
complaining, and
God's
up
busy.
there busy working.
Wait, what's he say? Before they call, I will answer. It's
Yeah.
like he's already got the answer.
Because I mean,
back
the
there
people
whining
had
about it.
already driven up to
Yeah,
the
they were already
parking
taking.
lot
Well,
before he even.
but okay. Don't
Well,
give,
they don't know what it's about.
Anyway, all right. So Absalom here, his worship was totally vain, totally worthless. It wasn't even really worship. It was just a facade to cover what he was really doing.
It was a mask.
A mask, yeah. Here's the thing. People today do that too. People go to worship as a way to cover the fact that what they're really doing is, making business contacts. Or what they're really doing is
Looking for girls.
looking for a husband or wife, or girlfriend, boyfriend, yeah. It's a good thing we don't know anybody who
Fellowship
would do something
meals.
like that. Free food. Go to worship.
Which, I mean, hey,
for free food.
Can't blame you for that.
Sit through an hour of worship and get a free meal.
Yeah.
And some churches, we only would have the fellowship meal once a month, which, man, I'm missing those. Miss those so much. And not that fellowship is not important, it is, but we don't worship just so that we can eat. That's not the point. And then and some are doing it as for like a fashion show or to gather up gossip that they can I know what I can see who is here and who I can gossip about.
Did you it was a comic strip. Did you ever see the Curtis comic strips?
I've heard of the Curtis comic strips.
Okay.
I have seen that.
In one of them, he and his brother are actually at church.
Uh-oh.
And it's got all the church ladies going down the aisle, and they're wearing the big fancy church lady hats that people have down here in the South. And he's like, man, I love coming to church just to see some of these old church lady hats. And look at that one. It's size of the boat, and it's just picturing them all. And it's just, fashion show at church.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And that's all people are going for. I mean, not just but they're going for all the wrong reasons. They're going for the wrong reasons, and it's not about worship. Then, are you okay over there?
Yeah, I thought I smelled smoke.
Well, we are sitting right next to a fireplace.
That would explain it.
Yeah. I mean, there's not actually a fire in it right now, but sometimes a little wind comes down the chimney and you get a whiff of that smoke. Anyway, So, when we think about prayer and praying about our worship, Jesus told us that we need to worship God in spirit and in truth. In fact, he says we must worship God in spirit and in truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an option. It's not a, well, I did that last week, so this week I can do no. When we worship God, it must be worship in spirit and truth. So we need to be praying for that. Praying that our heart is right, that our mind is focused. It is so easy to get distracted from what we ought to be doing during worship, just like Xander does during these videos when he totally forgets what we're talking about.
These videos aren't worship, so I can save.
Are you sure?
I can save my mental focus for when I actually need it. Yeah.
These videos. I thought these were disappointing so much.
No. No.
Oh well.
Praying for the right motives in almost anything is actually very helpful. For example, sorry. I don't know why. Past couple of videos, the ones I filmed by myself, and this one, weird stuff's happening. I was talking with someone, and we were talking about getting through various life troubles. And they said, I'm not, I want to do it, but I don't have the will, I don't have the energy to get through this. I'm not sure that I even really want to, because I'm not showing the energy, the will. I'm not doing anything that's necessary to get past this problem. And I said, well, pray about it. You are telling me that you want to get past this, but you're saying at the same time that you're not sure if you really want to get past this because you're not doing anything to get past it. Pray to God for Him to give you the energy and the mindset and the willpower that you need to actually buckle down and do something. And that's something that I think all of us really can and should be doing, is we've got things in our lives that we need to be working on, whether we realize it or not, and we need to be in the mind frame and have the energy levels and whatever you want to call it to be able to just work on those things. So pray for God to get you in the frame of mind that you need to be able to do that.
Sometimes the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
And even if God doesn't specifically do anything to help you, even just by praying for it and saying it out loud, you are reinforcing to yourself that you want that to happen, that you are trying to move in the right direction. And that alone will be helpful for you, even if God doesn't do anything.
Yeah, and to some degree, part of that is just Him listening and us knowing that He's listening. And also, then when we lay that before Him, we know now, once we've told Him that we want to do this, there's an extra level of accountability there.
Mm-hmm.
Where before that, it was just kind of like, well, I kind of think I might want to do this, or no, I'm not sure though. But then when we say, God, help me do this. Father, give me the strength to overcome this issue or whatever it is. Yeah. So, but a lot of things with our mindset. And pray to God for focus during worship as well. Pray to Him that your singing and that your attention as the study of the Bible is going on will be what it needs to be, and that you will truly worship Him in spirit and in truth. And of course, part of that involves studying what worship is and what worship in spirit and in truth is, which at some point may get into that kind of thing. Right now, we're just dealing with this one little aspect of prayer. We've only been dealing with this for 2 months now.
Yeah.
We only got 6 more to go.
We are getting to the point soon where we've still got a few left.
But we'll be doing a lot more of the prayers of the Bible and a lot less of these topical things.
And so I know we're going to talk about this a little bit off camera, but we're also, or at least I am, going to be talking with him about it off camera a bit.
Hmm.
Considering talking more in depth about things that are connected to prayer that are not topics or specific prayers in the Bible or anything like that, such as meditation, fasting. We can come up with some others as well.
We have a couple of those on this list.
Yeah,
right here.
there are some, and even some of the topics that we've touched on in the past where there's so much more to that topic where we may just do more of a topical study alongside with the prayer study.
Well, and pulling out just verses in the Bible that talk about prayer and about things like that.
So, don't know if we'll actually do that. I'm going to talk some more about that off camera. If we do, please, or even if we decide not to do it, recommendations from you about what you'd be interested in seeing.
Yeah, we would love, if you have a question or a thought about a topic that we should talk about or anything like that, we'd love to hear that in the comments, or of course you can go to our church Facebook page and message us from there or whatever.
So just let us know. Thank you for coming to this one, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.
Goodbye.